With respect to every biological function, I'm complete as an individual. Whether it's locomotion, whether it's digestion, whether it's circulation, respiration, I'm complete as an individual. But when it comes to procreation, I'm radically incomplete. That's a single biological function that's performed by a mated pair. So that man and that woman in a conjugal act truly form a single principle during that union. So much so that 9 months later, you frequently have to give it a name. And that then tells us something about what the action is oriented towards. The lovemaking act, the act that unites spouses, is the same act that creates new life. Marriage is the institution that different societies throughout history and across the globe have developed to maximize the likelihood that that man commits to that woman, and then the two of them take responsibility for raising that child. Part of this is based on the realities there's no such thing as parenting. No such thing as parenting in the abstract. There's mothering and there's fathering. If I told you that it's Saturday morning and a 5-year-old boy is in the living room wrestling with one of his parents, and the parent is teaching the young boy how to be masculine without being violent. So it's okay to be physical, it's okay to be aggressive, but you can't pull hair, you can't bite, and you can't gouge out eyes. Which parent is most likely in the living room? For the most part, on the average, it's going to be the father. Not because we've engaged in gender stereotyping in which only dads can wrestle on living room floors, but because that tends to be something that dads enjoy doing with their young sons. It comes natural to them. In the same way that frequently it's the father that's going to be throwing the young infant up in the air while the child's mother is saying, honey, don't throw him so high. That nurturing aspect is something that comes naturally to moms. So it's not surprising when we look at the social science about young boys who grow up without their fathers, they're more likely to commit crime and to end up in jail. Why is this? Something important actually takes place on Saturday morning on that living room carpet. When the father is teaching his son to channel his masculine aggression in a constructive rather than a destructive way, he's helping his son learn how to control tempers that could prove costly, that could prove violent, that could prove criminal. So the logic of redefining marriage to include the same-sex couple, to deny that the male-female part has any bearing on what marriage is ultimately a dissolvent. It dissolves the marital institution into contract law of consenting adult romance. But consenting adult romance can come in as many sizes and shapes as is imaginable. And so you'll be left not with the redefinition of marriage, but more or less with the abolishment of marriage as a public category. But now think for a minute of what is the public policy concern with marriage in the first place? This will be, I think, the third time I've said this, that the state doesn't care about marriage because of our love life. The state cares about marriage because for every additional sexual partner I have, and for the shorter lived those sexual relationships are, the greater the likelihood that I create children with multiple women to whom I'm not committed. So I'm creating fatherless children, fragmented families. We've then seen a series of cases with photographers and florists and bakers and innkeepers, more or less anyone who intersects with the wedding industry, saying we have no problem baking cakes or taking pictures or doing flower bouquets for gay and lesbian citizens. If it's a birthday cake, if it's get well soon flowers, whatever, we have no problem with that. We do it all the time. Our objection is to the floral bouquet or the wedding cake or the wedding photographer for the same-sex wedding, because that violates our belief about what marriage is all about. And these were, frequently it's evangelical photographers, bakers, florists, who said, we don't want to use God-given gifts to send a message that we think runs contrary to God's designs for marriage. Evangelicals have no monopoly on cake baking or floral arrangements or photography. There were plenty of other bakers, photographers, and florists who were more than happy to make money by providing their services for a same-sex wedding. And yet in each of these cases, the government said no. every baker and every photographer and every florist has to serve every wedding.